Hey, movie buffs! Today we have a great selection of some decent sci-fi films that will easily brighten up your evening. These won't be hyper-popular films like Dune or Avatar, but rather slightly underrated films that are truly worth seeing. Enjoy! Parallel, a film set in an animated universe that has become director Kuroshio Ohari's most personal project. He co-wrote the script with producer Katrina Ulis as a story of grief and loss, hidden beneath the surface of a sci-fi thriller. With a modest budget, the film plays like a psychological puzzle in the vein of Annihilation, but with an emotional focus on the heroine's inner world. The lead role is played by Danielle Deadwyler, an actress recently recognized for her performance in the drama Till. Her performance elevates this project from a simple tale of parallel worlds to an exploration of the human mind attempting to survive the irreparable. In the story, Vanessa and her husband, Alex, retreat to a forest cabin trying to escape the death of their son. Along with Alex's brother, they accidentally discover a portal leading to alternate versions of their lives, where mistakes can be corrected and the dead may still be alive. However, each journey further undermines the boundaries of reality, turning the forest into a labyrinth of mirrors where reflections can no longer be controlled. Vanessa sees versions of herself, calm, vengeful, or mad, and loses confidence in which one is real. And Hari transforms fantasy into a therapeutic experiment. Parallel worlds become not physical spaces, but metaphors for trauma that cannot be healed without facing one's own fears. Mourning isn't about science fiction, but a parable about pain, memory, and the impossibility of bearing the past, where even miracles appear as a form of self-deception. Korean director Chung Hee made history as the creator of the first national space blockbuster. Space Sweepers, or Seungriho, was filmed on a budget of $21 million. The project became a technological challenge for the entire industry. Hundreds of specialists from local studios, and, as you might imagine, Chinese ones, took on true science fiction on a Hollywood scale for the first time. Instead of sets, there are digital, orbital cities and a crumbling Earth. Instead of familiar heroes, there's a crew of garbage collectors flying a battered ship. The action unfolds in a future where the elite live on orbital stations, and the poor survivors on Earth risk their lives collecting trash in orbit. The crew of the victorious ship are former criminals and misfits who miraculously manage to stay afloat. But everything changes when, among the wreckage, they find a girl android who can either destroy or save it. Initially, the team, pursuing a reward, finds itself embroiled in a fight against tyrannical corporations and is forced for the first time to act not for profit, but for someone else. Kiko balances between space adventure and melodrama, sometimes unevenly and sometimes naively, but with sincerity, telling a good story that is pleasant to watch. Atlas is a sci-fi action thriller from director Brad Peyton. Another attempt to enter the realm of Hollywood blockbusters with budgets approaching $100 million. The project was conceived as a large-scale story about the war between humans and artificial intelligence, with Jennifer Lopez not only starring, but also serving as a producer. In the story, the brilliant analyst Atlas Shepard accompanies a squad of Rangers on a mission to capture the artificial intelligence Harlan, determined to wipe humanity from the face of Earth. However, the operation goes awry, the ship crashes, and the heroine finds herself alone on a hostile planet inside a combat mech robot with built-in AI. Her salvation depends on her ability to trust the machine she inherently hates. The film constructs a simple duel between man and his own fear of technology, but instead of tense drama, we get monotonous action reminiscent of a level-based video game. It's not particularly bad, but it's not exactly great. We came to watch after all. This year's Superman film was the first major project in the revamped DC universe under the direction of James Gunn, who is now responsible not only for the script and direction, but also for the strategy of the entire franchise. Following Zack's departure, the sniper decided to relaunch the Man of Steel myth, abandoning pathos and heavy symbolism in favor of irony and humanity. He cast David Corns, an actor with a theater background and the look of a classic 1930s hero, in the lead role. He is joined by Nicholas Hoult as Lex Soder and Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane. Gunn eschews the usual origin story and throws us into the thick of things. Superman has been saving Earth for 3 years, collaborating with the Justice League, and leading a double life as journalist Clark Kent. His main adversary is Lex Luthor, a charismatic techno-mogul ready to wipe the hero not only from the face of the Earth, but also from public consciousness. Emerges from the Titanic battlefield, a crypto dog in a red cloak. Gunn essentially finds the film's emotional center in her, reminding us that in this story, what matters most isn't power and politics, but the capacity for suffering. Superman is a bit uneven, overwrought in places, but quite honest. A film about faith and goodness, told by a man who has been removing price tags for too long and is now once again trying to convince everyone that heroes exist. After a series of delays, Thunderbolts finally hit theaters and became a key part of Marvel's transition into a new phase. The story begins with a failed CIA operation. Valentina de Fontaine tries to cover up her own machinations by framing several mercenaries: Yelena Belova, John Walker, Avuster, and others. But instead of facing mutual destruction, they unite in flight, gradually realizing they have become expendable to the system. Against this backdrop, Bob, a super being whose unstable psyche threatens all life, enters the picture. The plot unfolds as a slightly strange therapeutic odyssey. Characters accustomed to solving everything by force are forced to look inward, confronting guilt, fear, and loss. For all its flamboyance, Thunderbolts turns out to be a film about burnout, about how even superhumans can be broken, and that sometimes heroism lies not in saving the planet, but in being honest with oneself. Jurassic World: Rebirth by Gareth Edwards. The 7th film in the franchise and the first in which Universal Studios decided to abandon the previous cumbersome epic in favor of a more intimate adventure. The adventure was free of major scandals, but featured a solid cast of veterans. David Kapp, the creator of the original park, returned to the script, and the Castaway director, Godzilla, managed to convince the studio to do everything with minimal CGI, relying on practical effects and live-action sets. However, this didn't help much. Personally, I think the screenwriter is to blame. The events take place 5 years after the cataclysmic reign of Zorro. Bennett, a covert operations specialist, leads an expedition to a tropical island where the last dinosaurs survive. The corporation, you understand, is mining the DNA of rare species, promising to save millions of people. But in reality, You, as usual, is pursuing its own goals. You, along with the paleontologist Loomis and a small team of Zorro, finds themselves trapped between mutated lizards and their own employers. The film gradually evolves into an adventure blockbuster, almost philosophically about survival. The heroes realize that nature is once again paying for human greed. It has everything that makes the series come alive: suspense, predators, a comedy of errors, and the inevitable roar of a T-Rex. But in the finale, instead of applause, there's a slight sadness. The film doesn't even particularly strive to surprise, but simply reminds you why you once believed that dinosaurs could come back to life. Don't Look Deeper is a fantasy drama directed by Catherine Hardwicke, best known for Twilight. The film grew out of the series of the same name and was later edited into a full-length feature on a modest budget. But the project turned out surprisingly well. At the center of the coming-of-age story, Hardwicke, as usual, explores teenage vulnerability. Only now, instead of the typical problems of choice and love, she addresses questions of consciousness, memory, and morality. A girl named Aisha lives in the suburbs, studies, argues with her father, and also experiences her first love. However, her familiar world collapses when she begins experiencing strange glitches, and discovers she is not human, but an android with implanted memory. The people she considered family turn out to be engineers, and life itself is a repeating experiment. An attempt to escape turns into a struggle to be yourself, even if your consciousness is created from code. Hardwick doesn't seek any scientific pathos in this story. She's simply interested in what it means to understand that yourself is constructed by others. The film balances between science fiction and teenage drama. Let me remind you that the question of humanity isn't about biology, but about the ability to choose, feel, and resist. Sight Extended is the feature debut of Daniel Laz and Dran Miras, the creators of the 2012 short film Sight, which once made the rounds online and was included in lists of the best Sci-Fi short films of the decade. Now, 10 years later, the director has decided to develop his own idea and make a story about a future where technology is becoming not just tools, but a form of perception. The main character, Patrick, lives in a technologically advanced future and views the world through contact lenses that connect his consciousness with visual data. After the death of his parents, he stopped leaving the house, turning into a recluse, dependent on notification programs and voice advisors. When a mysterious stranger invites him to install an app promising to help him return to life, Patrick is drawn into this game, where the line between therapy and control blurs more and more, blurring as artificial intelligence becomes her mentor, friend, and even seducer, turning reality into a set of achievements and bonuses. But the faster that which makes him alive disappears. The Adventure of Jurassic Pet: Return to the Wild, the third installment of the good-natured children's franchise, which unexpectedly transformed from a parody experiment into a stable family brand. With a budget comparable to a Hollywood stuntman's weekly salary, the creators of Asylum Studios relied on a simple story, funny characters, and computer animation. And it actually turned out pretty well. The story begins with an absent-minded scientist accidentally opening a portal between the modern world and the age of dinosaurs. When the creature's egg ends up in the hands of children Ethan and Maddie, it hatches into Spike, a cute pink lizard capable of turning chaos into family adventures. While the filmmakers hunt for the find, dreaming of fame, the heroes try to return Spike home, avoiding chases, traps, and of course, a comical scene with the town mayor. Everything ends on a happy note, with lessons about courage, friendship, and responsibility for those they've tamed, even if it's a dinosaur. Overall, it's a lighthearted film for an evening with kids where, instead of intense conflicts, there are bright colors, simple emotions, and faith in miracles. Let us know in the comments what interested you most and what interesting things you watched yourself. It's always helpful for me and other viewers, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.